Right, morena everybody, welcome. It's 10 o'clock, so I will call the meeting of the Community and Environment Committee open for Thursday the 12th of March. I'll start with a very short kara kia, which is a new thing for us. So, kia marama, kia hua, kia tutuki, kia ora, haumi e, hui e, tā, kia. Basically, translation is be clear, be productive, be successful, be well, and hopefully we can all agree on that. Welcome to the public, hopefully any media listening as well, to any staff that are in the room. We've got a few of them today, and we've got a few public speakers as well. Welcome to the inaugural meeting for this triennium of a new committee named Community and Environment Committee. So last triennium, and for every triennium before that was Community and Services. So this is the new Community Environment Committee. It's also the first for this council, and we obviously have a new council. We've got some new faces in this committee as well, along with two returning councillors, which is nice to have some continuity in the room as well. I do want to note that it's actually been 176 days since our last meeting. So 6 months ago. It has been a very long and arduous time. Thank you all, especially the staff, for your patience as we get ourselves together. And we are here now, but I do understand the mahi still continues and some decisions need to be made. So we are here now. I'd like to introduce Dave Woodburn, who's to my right. He's stepping in for Ken Bailey as GM of Community and Services. And we have Democracy Services Advisor Ruby Mills to my left, who I will be steering towards quite a bit as a new chair when I make up lots of things that are wrong. I also actually want to start by acknowledging Councillor Craig Ferguson, who was the chair of last triennium and the triennium before that. So 6 years he was chair of the Community and Services Committee. He was actually on that committee for 9 years in total. So it was a significant length of service. He brought some huge energy passion to that committee and to our social infrastructure of this community. So I just wanted to acknowledge his service as I take over the chair role, and hopefully I can fill those very large shoes. Councillors, finally, I want to introduce you to some of our new councillors around the table. Councillor Gavin Bartlett, he is our deputy for this committee, and he will step in when I'm not available. Councillor Melissa White, and we have Councillor John Mitchell and returning Councillor Cody Tucker to the committee. Fortunately, we've got these lovely name badges for all of you as well, which is a new addition, thanks to Councillor Tucker. Moving on. This meeting is recorded and it will be played on YouTube later and will be available on the QLDC website after the meeting. We have no apologies. We can move on to declarations of conflict of interest. Does anyone have any conflicts, councillors? No. Great. Right. Well, that's easy. Moving on to public forum. We've got two speakers today. Each has 3 minutes long. I'm not that stringent on the 3 minutes, but if you start creeping closer to 5, I may ask you to wrap it up. So our first speaker today is Benji. First time speaking in public forum, but not first time speaking publicly. So welcome, Benji, and look forward to hearing from you.
I'll just pass on a couple of visuals here so that you have an idea of what I'm talking about. So So thanks, Councillor Wong. So I'm Benji Patterson and I'm here on behalf of the owners of Bridesdale Farm, which have recently committed to the business partners to purchase. Now, this topic relates to the Widgeon Park Reserve Plan, which is on your agenda. Bridesdale Farm immediately adjoins Widgeon Park, and for many of the public, they fail to see where council land ends and private land begins. Over recent weeks, since we've committed to the purchase, we've engaged with some councillors, council staff, the Community Association, Bridesdale Bush Trust and KDEC to talk about our plans for Bridesdale Farm. I wanted to share those with you today to give you an update. I want to be upfront that we are in favour, broadly speaking, of what's in the Widgeon Park Reserve Plan. We're not standing in the way at all. In fact, what we think we've got planned could lead to some complementary outcomes for the reserve. So from our assessment of the land, we've arrived at a similar position to Widgeon Park in terms of its best use. We believe that it's best suited to light agriculture and some recreational activities. The key distinction is that we're intending on commercial recreational activities on the land. We've identified a golf driving range as being the best commercial activity at this stage. It's a relatively low cost activity that will appeal to a rapidly growing catchment of people in the surrounding area. And importantly, it can deal with periodically getting its feet wet from rainfall events. Now, as part of tidying up the land for these intended activities, we're going to need to improve our access onto it and bring in machinery in a way that hasn't happened for a number of years. It hasn't been farmed for a number of years as we tidy things up and rehabilitate it. So think fencing, weed control. We've heard there's quite a bit of a weed problem that we've seen, and also there's some damage to land from water that's been running through it over recent years. Now, through our discussions, most people have been really surprised to understand that we don't currently access off what is commonly known as Hayes Creek Road, the gravel extension beyond the tar seal. In fact, we access our land through the narrow strip of council reserve land beside the allotments. That's our legal access way. In long term, we don't think that's a safe access for us, bring in tractors and other vehicle movements when it is surrounded by land in the reserve plan that's earmarked for community lawn, petanque, volleyball. Instead, what we're seeking, and this is what I'm wanting to let you know about today, is that we're going to submit for a variation to our easement so that we can try and formalise legal access off the gravelled road area. We've got a couple of dates already that leave that gravel road and into our paddocks. The farmer on the leased land, that's already how he accesses his land. And there are hundreds of vehicle movements a day from the general public accessing the reserve area along there. So most people have been surprised that we don't currently have access that way, have asked us why we don't drive through it. And we've said it's because we want to get that legally recognised before we begin to drive machinery through it. So basically, just to let you know about that, I'm happy to answer any questions. But before I do, I just would like to suggest that as part of your conversation regarding the reserve plan today for Widgeon Park, that you recognise, irrespective of how that gravel access road is legally noted at present, it's currently predominantly used by the public for vehicle access to the reserve by the river. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Benji. Happy to allow question. Anyone has one?
Can I just confirm, is there anything that you would change to the plan that's in front of us, or it's just a note?
No, sorry, that's a really good question. So on this concept that we put forward, I should have said that this is a concept from us. We've tried to marry it up against what you have. Our only suggestion is that if we try and get formal access off the gravel road, that's varying from our current one. And as part of that variation, it would mean that it no longer needed to be gravelled and it could be better used for reserve purposes, whether that's grass or planting. So
you're talking about your current access.
Yeah, exactly. And so instead of that, we would use what's for the community the primary access way into the area.
All right.
I've just got one on that.
Thanks.
It's really interesting. Great minds thinking alike, perhaps. Is there anything else that you're considering down the track? Is this beginning of something bigger?
At this stage, we've got to be cognizant of what the land is good for, and it does get water onto it relatively frequently. So we believe that if not golf driving range, it's similar types of activities. Sure. So we've looked at things like clay bar, even pitch and putt type golf courses, those sorts of things. But we've arrived at the driving range because that's been the one that has resonated most closely, and we believe that there's the biggest market for it in that area. That's within a walking or cycling distance.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Benji. Thanks for coming along. Now, next speaker, Brian. well versed at this.
Morning, council. Let's get it before I start. I'll just pass something. So I too would like to talk to you about the item that's on the agenda. If you have read my submission, that's also in the papers, thank you. If you haven't, that's excusable because you've got a lot to read and you've only recently received it. What is less excusable though is that I made these comments, a couple of, I think, basic suggestions 6 months ago, which were, let's make better use of both Widgeon Park and 516 Frankton Ladies Mile, and let's have better integrated reserve planning and think about how to achieve the best value for ratepayers. And none of that seems to have been captured in the reports that you've received today, and I think that's disappointing for me. Before I made my submission, I actually asked staff, you've got in the long-term plan, you want to spend 5.4 million on playing fields in the Eastern Corridor. Can I see some proposals so that I can actually, I don't want to misrepresent what you're saying. I didn't receive anything, so what I did instead was I showed you what the size of 516 was, followed by that white diagram on the front page. And you'll see from that that anything that can fit in there can also fit in the part of the Widgeon Place that is proposed to be just leased for agricultural purposes. So whatever it is, whatever that field layout is, it could fit down below. I also made the point on the following page that you've got 14 hectares at 516, about 11.5 of it's flat. If you took away 3.5 to use for community buildings and a park, you'd still have 8 hectares. The value of 8 hectares on the northern side of the road is around $50 million. The sales that have happened out there since confirm that, in fact, suggest that it's like. So in terms of not addressing my issues, which would basically put some playing fields down there and use the land at 516 for better uses, the only thing in the report is it says it's flood prone. And okay, you've heard Mr. Patterson say that his land is low lying too. This land is higher than the Bridesdale land. The Becker report clearly points out that it's only the southwestern corner of this land that is flood prone, right? It's not the whole land. And anyway, this community is better understands flood prone than most. We've got reserves down at Marine Parade and Insular Park that are used by thousands of people, and they are nominally flood prone, but we can deal with those things. The Becker report sort of tries to give you some comfort that all of this is in hand. It says it's got a section there called overarching strategies. And it says Widgeon Park Reserve has 2 QLDC overarching strategies that create a foundation for the development of the reserve. Now, those 2 strategies are these: the Parks and Open Spaces strategy and the one that deals with the reserves in the Eastern Corridor. Now, neither of those mentions 516. Not a single word about it, right? Now, the 516 was owned 2 years before these documents came out. And yet, and so someone will say, oh no, we're talking there about reserves under the Reserves Act. But if you're planning to spend $5.4 million on fields, this is reserve you're talking about, right? And you cannot possibly suggest that both documents provide a clear vision and objectives for the development of reserves within the QLDC management. You know, when you haven't actually dealt with the bit of land in there and talked about it at the same time. So yes, I'm hugely disappointed. I think that comment alone of Becker's is enough for you to say, look, let's hold on to this document. We can't approve this today. This goes out as a public document of councils. It's just wrong. And so what I'd like to suggest is this proposal suggests nothing urgent has to be done. It's not proposing you start work, so it doesn't need to be approved today. I understand from staff that you're going to be hearing within a couple of months about what proposals are for 516. Let's get those on the table, think about them, and think about actually what can be done before we approve a document that doesn't require any immediate action. I did put one other diagram in there just to sort of help you, and it'll probably be interesting for Benji as well. I think it's on the rear of my submission, and it's this. It's a historic photo of that same area. What's interesting is you can pick out the rectangular area that's actually just in this photo has recently been mown for baleage or probably for hay in the day. That photo is only 1983. What is really significant is look at the vegetation. Down on the river, you can see the start of a couple of willow trees. Compare it to the image on the other side of the page, that's just full of vegetation. What is slowing this river from moving and is causing the inundation of the land above it is that it can't get through. I think council needs to be really seriously thinking about how it manages that land, otherwise you really will have flood issues down there in the future.
Thank you, Brian. That's 5 minutes. That's
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time today. We won't offer any questions, and we'll just move on to the agenda today.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Right, there are no matters lying on the table. We have a proclamation of the agenda. Any amendments or alterations, councillors? Cody move, Kevin second, motion carries. Right, turn to page 5 of your papers, councillors. Agenda item 1, request for stormwater easement over 2 recreation reserves, and we have Alex, Parks and Reserves Planner, is that right? Yes. Welcome. And Jenny, hello. Take it away, floor is yours.
Morning, councillors. My name's Alex Jameson. I'm the planner in the Parks team, and I'm here with Judy Galavazi, who's our principal Parks planner. As part of the Peninsula Hill development out at Kelvin Heights, upgrades to the existing stormwater infrastructure within the neighbouring reserves are required. The physical works have already been approved under the subdivision consent. However, 2 easements are required to formally secure this infrastructure. Both easements will be in favour of QLDC and are required to be obtained prior to the developer obtaining 223 certification. All new easements require full council approval, which is why I seek a recommendation. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions, councillors?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thanks for that. I went past here last night on my way to a meeting at the golf club. The works, not only is it consented, but it's almost complete, isn't it? The road side?
Yes, they have EA partial approval, I believe, for the physical works.
Sure, thank you. So just checking the same spot. Thanks, ma'am.
Any other questions? Oh, that was quick. Right, resolution in front of us here. Do I have a mover?
I'll second
it. Discussion, councillors. This is going to go very fast.
There is, but anyway.
It is indeed. Okay, well, if there's no discussion, we'll take to the vote. I will not read all the recommendations because there's 8 of them. It goes for a page and a bit. So I will take it as read by the councillors, and we'll go straight to the vote. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? None. Carried. Right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well done.
Very easy. Right, item number 2, page 15 of your papers. Arrowtown River Reserve Development Plan. And we have Dominic again, and Jenny hasn't moved. Would you stand up and
Keep it here. John Coco. I'm here today to present the Arrowtown River Reserves Development Plan and recommend the adoption of this plan. I'm Dom, a Parks and Reserves Planner, and yeah, Jeannie, you all know. Just for a bit of context, the development plan is a high-level spatial landscape plan for a reserve, and it provides a vision for how the reserve can be developed and protected as they continue experience growth and pressure from expanded communities and visitor numbers. While there's no long-term plan funding allocated for the implementation of this plan. However, if adopted, it will allow parks to put forward funding in the LTP to be able to implement some of the features that are shown in the plan. And also some implementation may come from community groups who are wishing to develop particular features provided for within a development plan. So we've been working on these for a little over a year now, and just would like to make a few acknowledgements for the people who've had a lot of input. First of all, the key stakeholder groups that we met with in the initial planning stages of the development plan, as well as Okaha and Tammy Tiamarama, who we had a site visit at Arrowtown with, as well as previous councillors Berg and Lisa Guy, and Councillor White for your input again throughout the engagement and early planning stages. Sophie, my co-worker who's currently on maternity leave, we work quite closely on this plan as well as the Widgeon Development Plan, and her work was very much appreciated. And finally, Becca, who's the landscape architect that have done the actual pulling the plan together based on the council feedback. And finally, I'd like to thank all the members of the community who took the time to come to a drop-in session or to provide feedback on the draft plan. And we hope the plan in front of you today reflects that feedback we received and balances the provision of additional development within these reserves, whilst also ensuring its value and character are adequately protected in the future for the benefit of that local community. Welcome any questions.
Great. Questions, councillors?
I've got quite a few, sorry, and I might come back to them. Can you just explain a little bit more about in terms of because we've got no money for it currently, but by approving it means that we could get money. But I guess there's still a few things that are flagged in there. So what is the process? Like, this is the plan, but when, like, how set in stone is this? If we approve this today, is that rubber stamped, doesn't come back to us or community as and when what parts will happen? Like, can you just explain that part of the process? Just
so it's a high level spatial plan.
Yeah.
Any elements of this would go through a sort of detailed design process.
Yeah.
Again, if a community group or a council decided to implement something that's shown and supported within the plan, that wouldn't necessarily come back to the Community Environment Committee or council because it's essentially been approved, but it would go through that detailed design.
And so I guess my question is, so I guess if I can just have a few comments leading up to my question, is I think there's still some concern about the alignment of the high speed bike. I don't know if that's the right word, but the alignment of that and things like that. So I guess during that detailed design process, how do we ensure that the likes of Queenstown Trail Trust are actually involved in that? Because I do believe, I know that they've been consulted on, but I do think that groups like that should still be involved in that detailed design process in terms of getting feedback, because there's some of the people that I guess know the area, use the area. So how do we keep them involved in that detailed design process?
Yeah, so for that upper trail that you're talking about,
I don't know what it's called, but
the cycle
through Wilcox Green, I think, is the bit that I'm mostly referring to.
So for the detailed design of that, for example, we'd likely use our internal experts, engineers, and walk in alignment. And once we'd sort of walked that alignment, we could then share that with the QTT. But it wouldn't necessarily mean that we would need to engage QTT as stakeholder, but that's something that we could do, and Dave has regular meetups with.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, so we've got quite a strong relationship with them.
Yes.
We meet with them every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So depending on how things play out in terms of the design, there's an opportunity to liaise with them and get feedback and incorporate them into the design.
Yeah. So I guess how do we ensure through this process that does happen rather than it's just optional? Is it something we can do?
This plan wouldn't really go into that level of detail. And it wouldn't really direct how these things occur. Yeah. That would be that would just have to come as part of our detailed design process, which that's something we could work on.
I could just add a couple of things to that. One of the main drivers for this particular concept plan or development plan is obviously over the years, Arrowtown, the development alongside the Riverside Reserves has been quite ad hoc and not designed, with the purpose in mind. And I think we can all recall the little footbridge that goes over to all of the main trail network of Mahi Whenua. And the communities come to us several times with various designs and locations for that bridge and the AVA and APCA. AVP, sorry, too many.
There's multiple.
You know, regularly coming to us with ideas of how they could make improvements. So that's the main driver of this plan, is to have an overarching guiding plan.
Yeah.
That can respond to those various requests that they come in, but it's not so prescriptive that there can't be change within the designs that come to council. And we've also, you know, we've undertaken that community engagement so that we can have some comfort when we go back to these various requests that the community's been involved at these early stages. But and I also am not sure if this is out of place, but possibly the committee could make a resolution that council, you know, continues to engage with the stakeholders.
That's why I was kind of going with that. That I would have more comfort that, especially those key stakeholders, and they're different for different parts of it. Do you know what I mean? So, because my next question was going to be around the police hut area, which is very dear to a lot of people's heart, not necessarily cyclists, it's more on the historic front. So it's not necessarily engaging, like starting the whole process again every single time, but making sure that the right groups / people are involved at that detailed design process, so that we continue to get that alignment with kind of the community, and because it does change over time, and we're not sure this is going to happen in the next year. It's when it is. So I guess it's ensuring. So yeah, if I can flag with the chair, I would feel more comfortable if we can put in a clause. I'm not sure how we're going to word it.
I just add a little more to that. I think it's important, like, it's inform and engage. And we actually have really good relationships with all of the stakeholders, particularly in our town. There's also another forum, which is the Mahi Whenua Tracks Advisory Group, which the police hut obviously comes up quite a lot in those conversations, and Queenstown Trails Trust is on that. So yeah, there's no shortage of engagement for this particular area.
Especially in these high profile areas.
Yes.
The intent isn't that this gets, like you said, rubber stamped and we run away with it.
Yes, I think
because they are
definitely, and keeping the local councillors in the loop on all of those as well. I think, because there was.
I can suggest some wording if that's something that you would like to move as an amendment.
I might just have a few more questions, and then we get to other people might have questions as well.
Well, have you got some more questions?
Yeah, a couple more.
Okay.
With regards, and I guess, and I might have missed this, but there's no suggestion of like slowing down gates or anything like that for any of the cycle paths. I didn't see.
Again, that sort of level of detail
is part of
really
it. Okay, cool. No, I think that someone just commented that they didn't want something anyway, but I was like, okay, no, that's all right. So that's kind of next stage detailed design. And then I think that actually those things covered most of my questions. There was some talk around in terms of, I don't know what the right word is, but the beautification of swimming spots, and I do think that would be something that. So it's a prioritised question actually. How do we prioritise what's in the plan? Because I think there's some quick wins that maybe we don't even have to wait for the long-term plan to get on with. So how do we do that, and then what becomes the most important? How does that work?
So a couple of things here. I mean, if a particular community group came to us and they said, hey, this is what we want to implement, and we're willing to fund it, then because it's kind of in the plan, and we would support them to do that. From a council perspective, there is some short-term funding remaining for some quick wins. And in terms of the prioritisation of that is.
So we could just work with you to get that done anyway. Okay, cool. So that I can probably take that offline, that one then. And because I think it was summer, there's a lot of pushback to keep things as natural as possible. So I think that is just an overarching kind of part of the plan. So. but yes,
Any more questions?
no, I think that kind of covers most of the things that I wanted to just make sure.
Thanks for your input. We'll get to your amendment shortly. One question for me, I couldn't help but notice the amount of equestrian submissions. And I'm just wondering how we are managing that and making sure that input comes in. And also maybe if you could speak to some of the challenges around equestrian, around the trails that we're talking about in particular.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we had a lot of equestrians, especially turn up to the drop-in sessions as well, which is really valuable for us. And a lot of their concerns was that even though they are permitted on the trails at present, they didn't feel like they were being provided for through signage and things like that. So that's down at Wilcox Green there. We've included space for sort of horse float parking and a plate for tying up your horses and as a sort of arrival node for the equestrians. And then also through the wayfinding throughout the reserves to update our signage to make sure it's clear that horses are welcome on these trails and that they are part of those user group.
Right. Well, that clarifies it well. So thank you.
Yeah, there was one that I was concerned about. Quite a few of my friends in the horse riding / equestrian community were keen on that. So how is that being catered for in the thinking around how the trail separation in particular? Are they going to be off the trail? So it won't be allowed on the bike trail, or will be allowed on pedestrian or mixed trail?
So again, none of the trails seek to exclude different user groups, but the upper sort of trail in yellow on the new trail seeks to be sort of a cycle priority. So hopefully take some of that usage away from this slower moving river trail where you're likely to get a lot more tourists and dog walkers, and that's where the equestrians as well. So try to just remove some of those fast moving e-bike groups and stuff away from that. And the idea is for the trails to be multi-use and shared by all users.
Cool. So when you're looking at an amendment to the resolution, then I think it needs to make sure that we include all potential and current, well, at least current and potential user groups in that co-design.
We'll leave that to discussion, Shelley. Any other questions? Any further questions?
Mine were only about the horse equestrian submissions as well, but just to clarify then, so the two trails, the trail on either side of the river as they are now, main, and then there's a new priority cycle trail.
Yeah. And again, that priority cycle trail isn't seeking to exclude other users, but the idea is hopefully through wayfinding and signage, that would be obvious that if you're on this trail, you're going to expect faster moving cyclists. If you're down on the river trail, it's a slow moving environment. Bikes are still welcome, but you need to be travelling at an appropriate speed to be encountering those other users.
Yeah, it all just comes down to education, doesn't it? Thank you.
Any further questions, Councillor?
Great.
Well, good.
Very well.
Okay. So we have a resolution that we must move first. So we've got contents of this report, adopt the Arrowtown River Reserve Development Plan. Can I get a mover?
I'm not going to move it because I'll put the amendment.
I'll move it.
Great.
Okay, discussion.
Can I make an amendment?
Yes, you may. What's your amendment?
I'm hoping it's going to, what was your suggestion?
Oh, my suggestion was council continue to inform and engage with stakeholders in detailed design process.
Yeah.
Unless there's some, did you get that?
No, but John's typing it.
Oh, that's like magically appearing on the magically
look at
appearing.
Sorry.
I'm hoping what's going to happen.
Council continue to inform and engage with stakeholders in detailed design process.
I agree with that, other than I'd make process plural because it could be.
Processes.
Yeah.
Council to, yes, so I would like to move adding 3, council continue to inform and engage with stakeholders on detailed design processes. Do I have a second?
Do we have a second?
Second.
John is happy to second that. Right. Discussion.
I would appreciate your support on this.
Anyone else?
I'll have a discussion.
Just to echo, I guess, the compliments, because I think this work is really visionary and I think it is great to see fills the cup and in terms of like ensuring that we are protecting these spaces and providing space, providing the plan for people to be able to be inspired and sort of take action. Because so often it feels like council is this big hairy machine that it's hard to integrate into, and I think this is an awesome starting point to empower the community to feel like they can jump on board. So just to credit the incredible work and celebrate the success, I think it's awesome.
Okay. Thanks, Cody. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to also acknowledge the community consultation part of it, which I've said before, and other ones too, where it's very clear, do you support this? What have we left out? Any other comments? I like the simplicity of those consultations. It's really easy to read and take in as well, so as well as for people to submit.
Yeah, John?
Yeah, it's a great plan. Nice to put together, easy to follow, as the trails are. Will be better in future. One thing I think we need to consider while we're doing this, although I did know similarly, there's quite a few submissions there about the swimming, improving the swimming access, and I didn't take it that it was a beautification approach, although that I think some of the submitters did. Some of my earliest memories of being out there, man, it's cold, eh? But in that several places along that reserve where it could actually be made a lot safer without a lot of investment and would get used more and keep that separation. So we need to think about that as we go forward. And we can only do that well if we keep the community on board. So keep up the good work.
All right, thank you. And last word from Mel.
No, yeah, I echo thanks for the process and keeping us informed right from the beginning, actually. And us is now just me, but anyway, still got me.
Agree to the start of it, agree, council.
Council agree? Agree, council.
Just at the start. Agreed.
Agreed.
So,
Can I just ask a question, maybe of the councillors?
Yeah.
So I was just going to ask you, I said just in terms of that resolution there, is there a particular concern that the council staff might not be engaging? Because my sense is that we've got good relationships with.
No, I don't think that I think there was concern that this was set in stone exactly how it is. So I think that, you know what I mean? So I think that
more to formalise it.
I haven't had any feedback that people have felt
I was
that it wasn't.
thinking, would you like to strengthen it or something? But,
I don't think I think that that's no, I don't think it needs to. I just think that there is that intent to at those because it's not going to be all done at once, right? We're doing lots of little projects that just continue to engage with them.
Okay, happy?
I think that.
John,
I just wonder if that is a good question, whether we need the informed part. It might be better too, because it's continuing the good work that's going on. So continue to constructively engage with, because the informed sounds one way, whereas I'd like it to be very much a multilateral approach. So
I don't know.
Information has to flow one way first.
Yeah.
And then engage.
I don't think that covers it. Yeah.
It's yours, so.
No, I've put that forward, so, and we've had it seconded, so if you want to change it, need to,
Yep.
No, I'm happy with that, yeah.
Right, so it's there in front of us. We'll take the vote. So note conscious of this report. Adopt the Arrowtown River Reserve Development Plan and agree that council continue to inform and engage with the stakeholders on detailed design processes.
Do we just have to vote on the amendment first and then?
Yes.
So we
Oh,
need to
right.
vote on-
Thank you very much. Right, so let's take this to vote. We've got a mover and a seconder on point 3, which I've already read out. So I'm not going to do it again. So all those in favour?
Aye.
Against? None. Carried. Right, now we vote on the substantive motion, which is all 3 of them again, which I've already read out. I'm not going to read it again. So do we need a mover and seconder for that? Or we're all good?
We've got the originals.
Okay, right. Take it to the vote. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Against? None. Carried. Right. Thank you. We got there. Dominic, thank you very much. Jenny, thank you very much. Don't go anywhere though, I think. So we're moving on to agenda item number 3, page 61 of your papers. Councillors, Widgeon Park Development Plan, so you're in the hot seat again, mate.
Kia ora, yeah. I won't go through the same preamble because the process and everything is very similar for this. However, I'd just like to highlight some of the differences that Widgeon Park has compared to the town river reserves. Widgeon Park is a really important large recreation space for the adjoining Lake Cave estate and Shotover communities. As you've heard from some of the speakers this morning, it is under quite frequent flood risk, and some of the really key and strong feedback we got from the community was what they really enjoy about the space is its sort of open, informal, natural and rural character of the site, even though it's on the fringes of an urban setting. So that's what the plans really tried to encapsulate, with minimal development, whilst also trying to provide some increasing the use of the space through some recreation facilities like biking and a nature play area, and enhancing the community area over by the Clydesdale Bush Trust area. So yeah, welcome to take any questions.
Councillors, questions? Councillor Tucker.
Again, awesome plan. How do you, I know there's, bike tracks and pump tracks. How do you engage with kids and teenagers to try and figure out what they want and need through this kind of work?
Yeah, really good question. With something like this, we'd probably hope to be working with like the Queenstown Mountain Bike Club, or it'd be a sort of club-led initiative, ideally,
right.
Because they're the ones with those expertise. There has been some work from some of the locals around sort of jump skills areas for Widgeon Park in the past as well. So we'd be reaching back out to the community association and things like that to get their input.
Okay, cool. All right, makes sense.
How do you envisage managing the issue that seems to be prevalent often in that area with motorised bikes? Is that, I didn't notice that that's included in your thoughts.
Yeah, again, that's probably a district-wide issue that we have, and that sort of level of detail probably wouldn't come down to this. It is an issue that we are continually trying to deal with, and we probably haven't got the perfect solution yet. But it's so education, notices, and working with the schools as well as the local police. So
thanks, Dave.
Continue to work with them.
Just add to that as well, I think having a development plan for a reserve, particularly like this, which could look to some users as just some land that nobody manages or values, having a development plan like this that the community's engaged in is a really good first step to say, actually, the community does value this land and it is a recreation reserve.
Yeah, and there's more people there, then it makes it less likely. Thank you. The other way, another question, Matt, if I may. How did you deal with the submissions like those which Brian raised earlier? There were a lot of submissions here, a significant amount from the Liger Academy group. That was interesting, but great. But yeah, how did you deal with those? Because we can see what the plan looks like now. How did you prioritise some in and some out?
Yeah, so I guess we go through and read all the submissions and take them all on board. What we are also balancing that with is the intended use of the land, so it's administered under the Reserves Act, and what a recreation reserve is, the purpose of that. And then we're also looking at the number of, we've sort of tried to categorise them into key themes, and feed each submission into one of those key themes to see what really comes through, and we weight them that way.
Thank you. And one final question. So therefore, this plan has the same status as the Arrowtown Reserve Plan, in that it is a high-level document, it's not a statutory document. So if there is need to use some of this reserve for recreation purposes, but somewhat different than is currently being envisaged, there's still room to do that.
Totally, yeah.
Thank you.
Gavin?
Yep, a couple of questions. Firstly, so you just said it before, I think, but so this is a reserve managed under the Reserves Act. Yep, not a piece of council freehold land.
Yeah,
as such. Yeah. There was a submission in there from Motor Caravan Association. Obviously, our freedom camping bylaw, we've excluded any reserves from that anyway. So There's no, just to confirm, there's no intention to provide any freedom camping. Because we specifically haven't allowed for freedom camping on our reserves in this district.
Yeah, so at the moment, as you've correctly said, freedom camping's been, well, reserves have been prohibited for freedom camping under the Reserves Act. And in terms of the management of a reserve, whether to allow freedom camping or not, that wouldn't be done through a development plan, that'd be done through a reserve management plan would allow or disallow that. If council in the future decided they did want to permit freedom camping at the site, the plan doesn't preclude that.
Okay. And the other question was just reflecting back to one of the speakers in the public forum. Under this plan, is there any impediments or benefits in changing the legal, an easement over that? What's currently a formed gravel road to change access to various surrounding blocks? Yeah, so again, the development plan doesn't go into that sort of legal detail. It doesn't preclude changing access requirements or things for the Bridesdale Farm block. So that's a sort of process that sits outside of the development plan, and that I've met with Benji and Brett on site as well, as I think some of the councillors have. And so we'll work with them in their application around the easement and assess that. The plan would cover though keeping that unformed or that formed gravel road as part of the reserve. Yeah. So it is part of the reserve at the moment, and the development plan wouldn't seek to change that. And it currently provides one of the main parking areas for the reserve at the end there. So very good, thank you.
Any questions?
Oh yeah, I've got a few. Well, actually they're kind of similar. So I just, I guess just confirming with regards to the use of the land that, yeah, this is a high level plan, any detailed planning could still enable, I guess it's not, even though it's not part of this plan specifically, but if 516 was, anything else did happen there, it wouldn't preclude us then putting sports fields. I know that there are issues with, there are issues around that. So just confirming that that is the case, that, things can be changed, it is just a high level plan. And
high level spatial plan, and if council did decide that sports fields, things did want to go down near the plan, doesn't necessarily preclude that.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Can I just add another one to that? Yeah. Again, that's where having a development plan provides us a base level to say, well, we have done some work with the community around what they value about this, and that would need to be taken into account in that broader strategic decision. 100%, 100%. And then just following on, just confirming that this development plan doesn't stop any changes to that road. That access is going to remain the same to the current car park that's already there. I actually really like the development plan. I think it's a really cool thing, and thanks for engaging with the community. I would like to add the same as what we've done in Arrowtown.
Would you like to make an amendment?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just participating as such. Have we got any other further questions?
I really think Brian's point's very valuable, but I also recognise on the plan you've highlighted that area specifically. Was that to take into account that feedback and submission, or was there a reason why it doesn't have, say, sports fields there at the moment? Just talk through.
Yeah, so that section there that's highlighted is currently leased for grazing.
Right.
So it is QLDC reserve land, but it's leased for grazing, so it's not sort of used as a reserve as such at the moment. And that was one of the things that we wanted to get feedback from the community on, was whether they supported that sort of use of that land, or whether they'd like to see it used for recreation purposes. And a lot of the feedback that we did get was how much people enjoy going down there and seeing the animals and that rural character right from their houses. So there was actually quite a lot of support for that. Again, the development plan allowed us to continue leasing that as that sort of like grazing purpose, or or for other purposes that we see fit.
Mm.
But it's also at council's discretion, so we don't need to continue that leasing.
Okay.
And in terms of whether sports fields were considered, again, yeah, we received the submission from Brian that sought sports fields down here, but we didn't receive any other submissions that spoke to sports fields. So that again, we're weighing that up, and again, with 516 being where it is, and with the development on Ladies Mile and that increasing housing there, it's a more central location as well. So.
Hold on.
I just want to follow up if I'm not. So I saw there were submissions and from KG in particular about the potential ferry site, and that's indicated in the plan. Is there any other provision in there other than just saying that it could happen? That's all it says.
Yeah, so the jetty site, it actually sits outside of the bounds of the reserve. It's in the Linds parcel, but because there is KG do have a valid resource consent to construct that jetty and run that service, we thought it was important to show that that's there. And again, we'll just be working with KG as they implement that as to the sort of other facilities and things that might go alongside that on the development plan. Is you know, we've got toilet facilities and things like that, so it's how we're working with them with those facilities.
They need access and a shelter, or there's some degree of access anyway. So there could be a range of things, but that would be negotiations later.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
that would be another reserves process where they need a license for their various activities, and so we're engaging with them on that.
Yes, thank you very much.
Again, that's the reason of showing it there, is just that activity is anticipated. So we'd just work with them as they progress their detailed design.
Cool.
All right, thank you, councillors. Right, we have a recommendation in front of us. The contents of this report and adopt the Widgeon Park Development Plan. Do I have a mover?
So we're gonna.
I'm not going to move it because I'm going to do an amendment.
With the extra clause.
I'll move it then.
John move, and apologies to councillor Bartlett second. Right, discussion time.
Can I move a motion to add 3, agree the council continue to inform and engage with stakeholders on the detailed design process?
Moved it with them.
Oh, can you move it with it in there?
No,
I don't know if you can.
That's like last time.
It's been proposed as the motion, and we've John.
Only the first 2.
But it can be moved like that.
You can do it either way.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go with that, makes it shorter.
All right, I'll make it short.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Want to read the rule book more. Right, discussion.
I think there's a part of me that wants to put something in this as well, just to elevate Brian's point, because I think it's quite strategic, and part of me goes, I don't see this prohibiting that at all, like consideration. I think this is allocating the same space, but I think it's a really relevant point to elevate to a wider council context, because it fits within a more strategic conversation. I don't know whether it needs formalising in the agenda, in the resolution, but I guess I'm just signalling that part of it. Outside of that, I think it's a brilliant plan. It's I'm going to say the same things all over again, but it's always a lot of fun to see, these kinds of parks develop, because when you look at the communities that are down there, this is just a massive asset. And in the same respect, can't say enough good things about this stuff. It's always great. But I do think, my point is always going to be about that land swap. Partly because I can also, I don't know how best to say this, but through the regional deal process, I feel like there's some vulnerability to or certain land like that, with the government looking at education and other future potential for it. I also think that it's highly profitable. Anyway, I've made the point. I'm gonna move on.
Right, you don't want to change the what's in front of us?
I need some advice in terms of how best to elevate it in order to bring it to council. Is it that the committee, do I make another amendment that committee agree to bring full council needs some help.
Let's have a look.
I think it needs, I think it doesn't preclude anything like that from happening in the future.
And that's sort of my observation as well. I guess it's to reinforce it, but it's in the back of my mind. But Simon, I think happy to answer my question if the chair allows.
Well, I see Simon's eager to say something for that there. I'll allow you to have a speak if you'd like to answer Katie's.
Chair, we will be bringing a options discussion to this committee on the 3rd of April.
Okay.
So that may help shape your thinking around.
Right.
It's like
Okay.
With that in mind, then I suggest we amend the number 3. Agree that council continue to inform and engage with stakeholders on detailed design and option development processes, because we're looking at other options.
You've already moved it as is, though.
Yeah.
That's fine, I'm just suggesting.
Yes, yes. You've moved the original
No, I didn't.
amendment.
I didn't. I know, because these guys moved
Oh, that's
1
right.
to 3.
The two.
Yeah.
All right.
May I suggest we not get too
By
Maybe-
understanding on this? I think we're all looking for the clear resolution.
Yeah.
So,
clean, keep it simple, the KISS application here.
well, in terms of like the intention of where we're going, I don't know what, risks there are, understanding what is that we need to be too worried about the procedural.
Descriptive right now.
Yeah.
But, excuse me, Mr. Chair, I think what the staff are asking you to do is just look at they've developed a development plan for that piece of land and they're asking you to consider to approve that. That's all their scope is.
Yeah.
I guess one thing we've also heard in that conversation, thinking about Mr. Fitzpatrick's comment, is this plan doesn't preclude this land
Yeah.
from considering those options in the future.
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
And if I can just add something to that, I do think any larger decisions should be more, not just this council,
I agree.
that's full council
Yeah.
decisions anyway, so I don't think adding it in here makes, do you know what I mean?
Right, see, I don't have a problem, we could accommodate it if we
Yeah.
chose to
Yeah.
along the voting lines, but I think we've
All
got,
right.
we've got scope anyway.
All good. Right, well, we'll take to the vote, but before we do, I want to finish on something, if I may. And I just want to do a bit of a shout out to Elsie, Dakota, Forrest, Harper, Louis, Luke, Olivia, William and Zach, who submitted on this agenda item. And I read every single one of them, and congratulations to their teacher for actually getting their students to engage. I know certainly when I was their age, I was not thinking about local government. So I applaud them, and some of their submissions were some amazing ideas and suggestions to them, and full credit to them because they probably submitted better than some else. So well done. Right, let's take this to the vote. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? None? Carried. Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, where are we? Item 4, page 107 of your papers, councillors. Proposed reserves to vest in the Wakatipi Basin. Alex again, welcome. And Jenny again. Can he just stay there?
She needs to eat stuff.
Morena again. I'm seeking the recommendation to full council to approve the vesting of 3 reserve site at Hanley's Farm and 4 at Bull and Rise in Alpha's Point. Just for a bit of context, DP11 of Hanley's Farm is the last stage of development out in Hanley Downs. And Bull and Rise is adjacent to the existing Bull and Dale development in Alpha's Point. Yes. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions, councillors? Any questions? None.
Reserves are required under the resource consents.
Yes, yeah, they have already been approved.
Yeah, that's just a formality to
It is a formality, yeah.
vest them. Yeah. Right, thank you.
Right.
Happy to move it.
And move, seconded by councillor White. Discussion? All in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice and easy. Right, item 5, pages 120 of your papers. Endorsement of the Upper Lakes Catchment Action Plan, or CAP. Bill.
I'm just going to walk very slowly to the table.
Oh.
Downstairs.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right. And we have anyone online
We
that
should have Matt Holly, so if we can test
So
the.
maybe let's try and get him online while we're waiting for the others to arrive.
Yeah, that's the vesting one of last.
Oh, sorry.
Very
apologies.
Sorry.
Yes, these guys were very quick.
So John, do we have Matt online or is he, I believe that's Matt who muted?
It looks like Bill's the most popular stuff. Welcome all.
Bill, Matt. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's online. Bill, if you could introduce everybody for us, that would be lovely.
Fantastic. Yes. Kia ora koutou to Chair and to committee members. It's certainly a pleasure to be here today. Joining us today, I do have Tilly McCall, Resilience and Climate Action Advisor, and we have Renee Pearson from the IRC. She is the ORC
Catchment Action Planner.
There we go, right. And online, you'll see in the background another councillor, but this time from the ORC. Matt's joining us from Dunedin today, so thanks, Matt. Hopefully you can hear us. So look, I'll provide just a brief framing of the item that you have in front of you today. Then I'll pass to both Renee and Matt for a quick introduction from the IRC perspective until we'll finish up with this closing statement just to wrap up the item before we pass it over for questions. So look, we're delighted to present to you two significant work programs today. So these will play a key role in looking at how council is guided with regards to freshwater environmental restoration initiatives across the district. So the Upper Lakes Integrated Catchment Plan will be presented first, but it is closely followed then by the Waifakaata Lake Hay strategy. Both programs represent an important shift towards integrated catchment management practice. This approach recognises the health of our lakes, rivers, land and communities are all interconnected. And improving environmental outcomes requires a broad coalition of partners, including mana whenua, conservation organisations, landholders, community groups, as well as local government. The first item is the endorsement of the Upper Lakes Integrated Catchment Action Plan. And the development of this plan has been led by the Otago Regional Council through the Integrated Catchment Management Program. It's involved input from over 70 groups and organisations across the district over approximately a 12-month period. The plan provides a shared framework for coordinating the work to protect water quality, restore biodiversity and strengthen catchment resilience. Importantly, the plan encompasses the territorial boundaries of our district and is grounded in the principle of ki utu ki tai, from the mountains to the sea. Now, this recognises the vital role that our district plays with the alpine catchment that feeds into the entire Mata'ao Clutha River system. To help present this item, so we have Renee Pearson, and so Renee, who has coordinated the working group over the last 12 months, well done Renee, and also been the lead author for the Catchment Action Plan itself. Matt has had a dual role, both participating in the working group under the Conservation Alliance, but now as an ORC councillor will be on the governance group as well. Both Renee and Matt will speak briefly about the process that led to the development of the plan and the importance that it has to the IRC Integrated Catchment Program. So over to you, Renee.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Renee. I'm the Catchment Action Planner at ORC. So my role is to facilitate the development of catchment action plans across Otago. The Upper Lakes Catchment Action Plan, or CAP, and apologies if I repeat any of your points, is a 10-year non-regulatory plan to improve freshwater and biodiversity across the Upper Lakes area. The area includes Whakatipu Waimari, Wanaka, Hawea and Waifakaata, aligning with the QLDC boundary. It is the second catchment action plan following the Catlins pilot and sits within ORC's Integrated Catchment Management, or ICM, program, established in 2021 through ORC's long-term plan. The ICM program works at a whole of landscape scale, ki utu ki tai, from mountains to sea, recognising that systems of land, water, biodiversity and people are interconnected. The Upper Lakes Integrated Catchment Group was established to co-develop the CAP from August 2024 to August 2025, which brought together mana whenua representatives, people from community, catchment and conservation groups, agencies including QLDC, DOC and LINZ, and an IRC councillor. I really wanted to acknowledge here the huge contribution from those participants in this process, together contributing 880 hours of time travelling, workshopping, and gifting their knowledge and energy. Many of them represent multiple community groups, wearing 70 hats across the group, and initiatives across the district, including QLDC staff who joined us, and John Glover prior to becoming mayor. They brought a genuine connection to the place. That willingness to work together is what gives the Catchment Action Plan its strength. The plan includes practical actions across predator control and native wildlife habitats, wetland care and restoration, wild and conifer and weed control, and improving water quality. Environmental challenges are complex and interconnected, and no one organisation can solve them alone. The CAP provides an opportunity for multiple organisations to get on the same page and work together towards shared goals. The CAP can operate as an umbrella plan, nesting more detailed strategies and plans for smaller areas underneath. It provides shared direction at a broad landscape scale, with subgroups finding parallels with specific actions and being supported through shared resourcing and the opportunity to communicate with multiple organisations in one forum. It also directly reflects relevant components of other plans, such as QLDC's Climate and Biodiversity Plan. With the CAP endorsed by ORC Council in November 2025, we're moving from planning to delivery. A governance and delivery group is now being established to guide implementation of the plan. The group has a draft terms of reference, and the membership as it currently stands is holding a hybrid hui on the 24th of March in Wanaka, with ORC providing facilitation to get things underway. Importantly, the governance and delivery group doesn't lead projects itself. The real work will continue to be led by the community. The group's role is to coordinate effort, support collaboration, and help connect resources so those projects can happen at scale. So the CAP and updates are available on our GIS Hub website with downloadable and interactive content, including the brochure, documents, and story maps and feedback forms.
So thanks for that.
Okay, thank you.
And look, we've just got the opportunity with Matt online. Matt, is there anything you wanted to add from your position as an ORC councillor?
Thanks, Bill. I haven't got a lot to add other than the fact that, as Renee spoke to, this is the second of the catchment action plans that the team's been working on, and with more to come. And the learnings from this and the process that have been really well led by the ORC team will be really handy for the other catchment action plans that come together. And it's all about getting groups working together, feeling like they're part of a bigger environmental impact, and delivering things at a scale that suits them, whether they're volunteers or paid or a combination of everything. So it's a fantastic opportunity, and the ORC's been well supportive of it, and Renee and her great capabilities and team working together have done a fantastic job. So yeah, we're really supportive of it, and it's fantastic.
Brilliant, thanks, Matt. And Tilly, if you just like to post it.
Yeah, I'll just sum up more from the governance and what it means for council perspective. So for council endorsing the Upper Lakes Catchment Action Plan, it's primarily about confirming our role as a strategic partner in supporting a coordinated catchment-wide approach to environmental restoration. Key element of this is participation in the CAP governance group, which provides strategic oversight of the plan over its 10-year timeframe and helps coordinate action between partners. So both Bill and I will be on the governance group, but elected member participation will provide an important link back to council, ensuring alignment with council priorities and regular reporting on progress. So with that, we'll take the report as read and happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, I'm sure there's going to be plenty, so we'll start with Cody Tucker. Take it away, Cody.
Great plan, not just because it has my roto on the front and back of it. Shout out to Lake Howie. But I think all of these action plans and the congregation of this is brilliant work, because when you're a part of it, you can see people being empowered and taking responsibility for their own backyard. I want to pick up on the point about, saying that land, water, people, biodiversity is all interconnected. And my question is council interconnected? Because when we talk about infrastructure and we talk about subdivision code of practice and a lot of the learnings, and my biggest frustration is that there is so much knowledge and effort around freshwater management, yet we seem to, be failing in stormwater solutions at Rockabilly and Alpha Rise, and then, the values that are throughout this plan, and then when we contrast that with the wastewater disposal solutions that we're looking in front of us, can you speak to how this can help inform other departments or how we can improve that relationship?
Through the chair, it's a fantastic question. I am very tempted to throw up my senior staff around the table. Maybe Dave and I haven't provided that, but look, I think we can recognise that improvement is needed, but we also recognise the progress that has been made. Councils are very complicated organisations, you're well aware, lots of different priorities and pressures, but increasingly we are seeing the integration across the directorates. I myself work very closely with Dave's team. And increasingly, we are working much more closely with the infrastructure team as well, and understanding where these opportunities exist to achieve, community or infrastructure outcomes, but through the right practice and the right approach, certainly prioritising nature-based solutions and understanding where those opportunities for innovation are. So I think we're in an ongoing change management process. I can point to many leading examples of work that has been done. We can also point to other areas where work is still to be completed and hopefully improved. But I think what we are seeing, both through the work of the Climate Biodiversity Plan, but also the integrated catchment management practice, the integration of fields and domains of expertise coming together to find better ways of achieving outcomes, and certainly blending both technical knowledge, the scientific kind of research, microlearning Māori approaches, but also community insights. That's where we're starting to see the nexus of these much better solutions coming forward. So stick with us. I think it's a work in progress, but we can talk to the progress that has been made, hopefully.
Great to hear the passion. Thank you. And appreciate it's a difficult question.
Can I just say a bit to the Bill thing? Even though the council is complicated, like Bill says, and it's challenging and lots of different priorities, I would say that there's a willingness within the departments to work towards the outcomes. So it's just challenging at times. So I wouldn't say no pushback against working towards it.
I guess if I can follow up, I understand your guys' priorities, and I think you're both the team phenomenal. I guess just to also highlight if there's anything that we can help with that integration from a different perspective, given that the chair and deputy chair of infrastructure are at this table in the same respect, please let us know, and we'll always be good champions for the work that's been done at this level.
Just make sure you reframe that to a question. Is there anything we can do?
Is there anything we can do?
Oh, that was, how can we help?
There you go.
They don't have the Kiwi inflection and just, go to high at the end of the meeting.
Does any other councillors have questions?
Yeah, it's a really good piece of work. The thing I like most about it is that it brings so many really active groups together, provides some focus for it. I've seen these in other regions that have not been as well connected as that, and get led by one group or set of interests in particular. That's not the case here, which is just marvellous. So well done on that. I would echo Cody's concerns, particularly when we're talking about wastewater management, the values that are captured in here, perhaps need to echo a little more elsewhere, so that's okay. I do have a question.
Good, because I was going to remind you.
No, really might. So I can't see in here where government agencies have a stake in this. How does that work, if at all?
Right, would you like to?
Central government.
Did the chair have a stab at that?
So informing the governance and delivery group, we're obviously still in the process of choosing who's going to be represented there. And that, as we get that underway, that will have some decision-making power. But yes, the plan doesn't reflect as much work from agencies as could go on, perhaps, at the moment. But we've got adaptive management built in. So as we go along and we get priorities from the governance and delivery group, we will insert that into the live copy that's online. And we're planning to evolve as we go along with the resources that can be
Right. So there's no direct involvement from MMP or DIA?
Supplemental to that, for the chair, we have had support obviously through DOC and through other agencies.
Right.
Look, it has been largely local based organisations, and well, with a regional footprint as well, right?
Yeah, I would hope with the momentum keeping going that we can reach some organisations at the national level.
Cool. We're happy to help with that too. Thank you.
Good question, John. Any other
questions, but excellent.
I just have one question just around the feedback loop, page 123, number 15, just clarify what that feedback is to the committee, who's doing what, does it come through you, Bill, and your updates, or?
Yes, well, the opportunity, obviously with the endorsement of the strategy is to look at kind of a reporting process and cadence for that. Having the support, there's a recommendation around councillor participation in the governance group will certainly help with that to make sure that we have got a very close connection between the work that is happening and that governance level. Today, I think the work that's happened has been a little bit perhaps, hasn't been as transparent, I guess, for this particular council as it has been for the RRC, who have been seeing regular updates. But we'd like to see that corrected and provide, particularly through this committee, the opportunity to give updates as the work progresses.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bill. No further questions? Great. Okay, so.
I was going to just jump in here and happy to move. But...
Oh, right. Okay. Well, you're jumping ahead, but Cody's happy to move, so I'll take that. On a second. Thank you, John. Right, discussion.
Just a thank you to John and Nikki for having your hand up.
Yeah, they were fighting over it actually, so that's good. Briefly, I'm fine. Well, it shows the passion, I think, from our elected members that they really showed an interest in this, and it's a body of work, which is to be commended. I think as a light touch being 880 hours from the organisations. Imagine all the volunteer hours that sit behind all that from the community. It's just huge, absolutely massive. So, yes, but to your point, we do have 2 councillors that would like to be on the governance group, and Bill has kindly accommodated that. Thank you very much. Any other discussion? Good. Well, let's take it to the vote. What do we got in front of us here? Make the contents of this report, endorse the Upper Lakes Catchment Action Plan, recommend to the council to appoint the councillors John Mitchell and Nikki Gladding to the QLDC elected member representatives on the Upper Lakes Catchment Governance Group. All those in favour? Aye. Against? None? Carried. Thank you very much. Appreciate all your time. Thanks, Matt, online as well.
Yes, and
Bill, stay where you are. Yeah, run on the spot. Right, the final item in our papers today, item 6, page 128. Endorsement of the Waiwhakaata Lake Haze strategy. We have Bill Nicol presenting on this item, and he again has more friends.
More friends, yeah, all the merrier. And we are just missing one friend too, so I will share an late apology to Jana Davis, chair of the Waiwhakaata Lake Haze strategy group. Yes, and hopefully he's well and sending their best wishes. But I am joined by the duo who will support me with the presentation of this particular item. This is closely connected with the previous item that you have heard. The work around Waiwhakaata Lake Haze has been ongoing for a long time, but it is closely integrated with the ambitions and the objectives of the Upper Lakes Integrated Catchment Action Plan. As you well know, Waiwhakaata is not only a significant ecological catchment, it's also a taonga for our mana whenua and our highly valued landscape and recreational environment for the Queenstown Lakes community. Over several decades, the lake's health has declined, unfortunately, due to a combination of catchment modification, intensified land use, nutrient enrichment, and sediment accumulation. In response to these pressures, the Waiwhakaata Strategy 2025 has been developed to provide a shared long-term direction for restoring the Māori of the lake and its surrounding catchment. The strategy has been developed through the Waiwhakaata Strategy Group, which is a collaborative partnership between Kaitahu, Otago Regional Council, Department of Conservation, and the Friends of Lake Haze, and of course QLDC. To introduce the strategy and share some insights into the mahi that has been involved, I'm very pleased to introduce to my left Mike Hanf, Chair of the Friends of Lake Haze. Mike will provide a brief overview of the history of the lake restoration, the progress that we're now starting to see, and the importance of the strategy to support that ongoing work. We also have Jen Lawn from the ORC. Jen is the project delivery lead for the strategy, And she'll provide a brief overview of the work program that has been developed to support the implementation of the strategy. So thanks, Mike and Jen, for joining us. Mike, would you like to say a few words?
Well, first of all, thanks for the opportunity to speak today. I don't think in the 10 years I've been involved, I've ever done this before.
Well, welcome.
So that in itself is a huge thing, you know, so thank you. Friends of Lake Hayes is actually going to celebrate 20 years of existence this year. And I've been with them for 10 years. So just the previous chair was Kerry Dunlop, who brought it to the 17 stage. In 2017, when I joined it, I had more of a science background than the other guys, and they were pulling together through the ORC and got Dr. Mark Schellenberg at the university to summarise the science that had been done and put together some options. And there was 50 years of science to review. So when you talk about the 2 catchment plans that have been done, ORC, you know, I go back before these people, where actually the biggest catchment plan that was being worked on was back in 1985 when the then Barry Robinson, who was actually Richard Robinson's father, wrote a very comprehensive report, pulling all the science together to that point, and came up with some very good recommendations. And there was a plan put in place. ORC, QLDC led this implementation of the plan. And as a result, we got the sewerage pipeline around the lake and a few other things. And then when the RMA came in, the actual formal 1995 Lake Hayes management strategy was dropped because there was no room for it. And the view was that we would put the indicators that were set at the time, or whatever was necessary, into the water plan process. And at that point, the thing fell apart. So that's why it sort of slowly disappeared. And that's really what happened. And so what we did is we got together with the regional council, we got together with NIWA, and we got the university and the then 2 water scientists who were senior, had a lot of knowledge of this. And we wrote a strategy in 2017, and we got a room and we said, well, we're going to put a strategy together on things we know that are not going to cause problems anywhere else. So we focused on things we can do. So that's where this current works that you hear about from time to time have come from. So that strategy had 95 strategies sitting at the top, and this is what the Waifaka strategy is effectively replacing. And in those days, we're very focused on water. The new strategy is far broader than that. So, you know, when I talk, I'm very focused on water still. So I'm not.
It's quite critical.
Well, it is critical, and it is a big part about stormwater and all that other stuff, you know. So, and you will have heard us, because the first thing we did, we said, righto, we need regulatory support from the QLDC, we need regulatory support from ORC, and we need a bunch of action plans in place to achieve some improvement goals. So the first one back in 2017, it just happened to be a plan review process underway. So that's when we got together with Schellenberg, and we were listened to by the commissioners at the time. And as a result, the commissioners wrote a policy, which was 24.2.4.2 of the district plan. And if you want to read that, it basically says is that from a planning perspective, if you want to increase the density of urban density within the catchment, you need to improve water quality as part of that. And it's got to be one of the outcomes. And so up until now, we've been struggling on a whole lot, and Bill's been very helpful. And I think watch this space in terms of the stormwater and other bits and pieces, because I think we've progressed a long way. It has taken some time, but we've turned the corner, and I'm very hopeful that we'll get there on that. I'm pretty sure we will. So, because actually the biggest problem in the past is I think it's been perceived as an expensive thing to do as part of development, and may well impede development. But actually, I think it's probably cheaper to do nature-based stormwater solutions and have outcomes. Until you actually work all that out, you know, I think it doesn't necessarily have to be more expensive, is what I'm saying. So we have that part of it from QLDC. If we get support, regulatory support, this is the environment I see is going to be a very big part of that going forward, hopefully, with this committee. It'd be fantastic. And then on the ORC, we had 2 key bits. We had regulatory support, which was actually the then water plan. So we've been spending 10 years with the planners and ORC to try and get some recognition. And what that will mean is that the water plan will refer to the Waipakahata strategy to at least have a discussion in the planning process. So, because one of the things we've found is even though we didn't have any regulatory things in place, now that we had the policy, we were having discussions in a hearing processes around land use. And Airburn's a classic, you know. We spent 5 years in court with it, but when they went back for a new consent, they needed to consider the policy the second time around. And actually, as a result, they've done some of the best things for the lake. And so it went from a sort of big negative to a big positive. So I know it can work. Got examples of that. So the focus was on water. That back and then after this, we as a community, we organised some funding from a family, one family in town, plus we got some money out of Sargood bequest. And we actually had E3 Scientific write a vision strategy of what the catchment needs to look to. And hence our slogan, fix the catchment and you'll fix the lake. So that's really, because up until then, everyone was talking about spending millions and millions of dollars in the lake, repairing it. Yeah. And it was just no point because we established that actually it's still flowing into the lake. So unless we fix that, then there's no point doing anything. So 2020, we had this vision project on the shelf, and ORC had done another bunch of projects, and I'll let Jen talk to you about those, which support all of this as well. So there was some funding from ORC that we got into the long-term plan back in 2019, I think it was. So that's where these projects have come from. So the opportunity, though, I think to myself when I listen to CAPs and things as well, how does this fit? You're probably asking yourself, how does all this fit together? And I'd say, well, actually, the Lake Hayes catchment is only 42 square k's. It's got Little Mill Creek running in the middle of it, which is 80% of the inflows. And then it's got 20% inflows from all the other houses, which are all contributing. So there's an opportunity here to get some of these things right, get a plan in place and test it. And one of the things that happened in 2020 is Davis knocked on the door with Michael Reedweed because he was working for him in those days, but he didn't get paid because they didn't have any money. But those guys, this was early on in the project, had their heart and looking for a project because all of a sudden we had a job for nature opportunity. So Friends of Lake Hayes had been given $1 million by Rod Jury. Jana picked that up because he ran that project back then for Manatahuna. He was working in that environment in those days. And Jana actually got the project over the line with, he steered that over the line in terms of the next round of funding. And all of a sudden, we had a head of steam up. Started with Rod Jury and the money that had enabled us to have this plan on the shelf. We had a shovel-ready project, basically. So don't know why we did that, but someone must have told us we needed to have that. So yeah, so from now on, we're going to, as I just say, the new strategy, it's a broader strategy. And at this point, it's a great umbrella. And as part of that earlier strategy, though, we recognised that there was the two councils, Friends of Lake Hayes, iwi and DOC, were these major stakeholders in the room that we needed to get together if we were ever going to survive. Because every time we try to do something, we needed to have these inputs. So we created the strategy group, which is the members of that Jana chairs. So that's how that works. And then, so from here, the next big move, if this is endorsed, is to translate that into the action plans and op plans and try and bring all these community group things that are going on. So we've got predator free, we've got reforestation, we've got Manatahuna, we've got Friends of Lake Hayes. We've got all these different things going on, and the strategy group needs to find a way to pull that together. And I see the op plan is input into the op plan is the next phase to pull that together if you want to see it work.
Very good. And it's a great segue, Mike. So thank you for that overview. And just quickly, Jen, so Jen's leading the implementation work in terms of looking at how that operations plan will come together.
Yeah, tēnā koutou. Thank you for that history, Mike. And I wonder if one day our kids will be sitting at this table talking about this very meeting. Maybe. So my role at ORC includes coordinating the strategy group, facilitating development of an implementation plan, and also leading ORC's contribution towards the objectives and vision of the strategy. I'm really excited about this strategy, and I'm looking forward to what we can do together with it. This strategy I see is an evolution of previous strategies. It integrates the cultural and socio-economic pillars along with the environment and traditional science monitoring. It's integrated. The 10 objectives reflect that they are all integrated as well. The strategy speaks to combining of partners' strengths to restore the whole order in land and water. One of ORC's big contributions that Mike sort of touched on there has been our water quality monitoring using the Lake buoy. One of the objectives, I think, of this strategy, objective number 10, is probably what resonates with me the most. And that is about the contribution of different knowledge systems. And doing so leading to better outcomes. And this is illustrated really well in your very own climate and biodiversity plan. You have a wonderful illustration there where the different strands of knowledge are woven together to form a strong braid. Page 10, I think.
You don't be
Yeah. And that's what you see here. You see the knowledge of locals, the knowledge of mana whenua, knowledge and capability of councils and DOC coming together, being strong together. Yeah, it's exciting.
Great.
Yeah, since the endorsement last year, ORC, we committed $55,000 in our financial year towards actions towards this plan. That's gone onto sediment removal and installing infrastructure for augmentation. And yeah, I'm excited and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with you and the other strategy group members to restore the whole order of the lake and the catchment.
Fantastic.
Can I just say one wee thing, sorry, Jan is not here. So having done all of this, the lake this year, after all of this work, we've had 5 reasonable years of nutrient inputs. We've had 2 very low rainfall years, so we had a tailwind, and then we've had 2 really bad years of inputs in terms of flows, and we've managed to keep the sediment contained as it's sort of gone to plan. And so as a result, we've seen some big changes in the health of the lake this year. And it doesn't mean it's going to fix itself next year because it's a roller coaster ride, but it's the right direction. So, because if you want, just one thing you need to understand about Lake Hayes is the internal load discussion. So if you get a lick of sediment into the lake, the effects of that sediment last for 10 years because it's not going out of the outlet creek fast enough. So it just recycles. The lake, the chemistry changes every year because it gets oxygenated and deoxygenated and oxygenated and deoxygenated. So it lets phosphorus go, algae have a field day, and then it just gets cycled back in with dead algae back into the bottom. So the fact that it's recovering like this is awesome. And my words are, we've got to keep our foot on the neck of this thing in terms of stormwater. Because that's the biggest risk for us is stormwater ongoing.
Thank you, Mike. I think we need to take this offline and actually have a visit of the new committee because I feel like you could talk forever. So let's spend a whole day with you, shall we?
Yeah.
Bill, do you want to wrap it up for us, or are you done?
Thank you much. It's fantastic to have you here. Unfortunately, Jana wasn't, but you've stood very ably, Mike, for him. And look, I just want to echo the sentiments around how important this lake is. And the progress that has been made recently, Mike. So, to see the progress of such an important water body, it just gives more impetus to.
Yeah, and I would like to thank Jana for his energy in making the strategy happen and pulling all these members of the strategy group together.
Yeah.
I think it's an example of how these things can work.
Yes. It's a wonderful example, I think, of community collaboration actually working. So, well done.
Excellent. I'll take papers read and
questions, councillors? Or all the answers already been given?
Mostly. With regards to the regulatory support, and I guess this is similar to the question last time around, is how can we help them? What needs to be done there to, I guess, connect those dots to make sure we're not, because I guess we've got a big project coming up that's going to have huge, when I say we, there's going to be a huge impact. So how can we make sure that we don't lose?
Well, let me give a shot first. No, it's a diplomatic side. Look, I will say that having that district plan policy in place, that we can't understate the importance of that. Now, that is quite unique, that district plan policy. It is related to the Lake Hayes area of development, so it's not across the other water bodies. So it has been one of those to see how can that policy actually be affected? What's the right conditions that can be put to consent to ensure the right practices and outcomes are achieved? Certainly, I will hand to you, Mike. You've got some very strong.
No, I wasn't going to be specific about that.
Yeah,
All I was going to say is that in my corporate years, these sorts of things need to come from the CEO of the organisation. If the leadership is saying the right things, the staff behave. And what you've heard today is encouraging because you're already saying things that I've never heard before. So I'm optimistic. And really it comes down to leadership within the whole organisation saying, yes, this is an important, but we should try and make it work, not try and avoid it. You know, that's all. And it's just an attitude. And I think if we change that attitude, we'll solve this very quickly. You know, like I've just walked Rod Jury's land with Rod because he's asked us to have a review of the final storm. Look, we don't do half a dozen simple things, and I say I want to move away from rules-based earthworks only consent, because what happens there, you build some stuff, really strict rules around earthworks, when it's finished, all the holes get filled and sediment traps get filled in, and everyone thinks it's normal, you know, and then it rains and it's dirty again. So it's just so actually, I said to Rod, if you want to know that your stormwater is working, there's only 2 points in your property the water leaves. When it rains, have a look. And if it doesn't work, fix it. You know, and that's all that needs to happen. You pond the water or you do things or something, you know. So it's a leadership thing. And it can be really easy.
No, I think it did actually.
And I'd like just to add that we are talking about systems here. So there is landowner responsibility. And people
and people don't realise that 2 acres is actually contributing to the lake.
But they are starting, the awareness is growing, and the appetite to look at different ways of practice, to see how, moving away from just in the fixed space, minimising the detrimental impact of development, to actually how can we use that to enhance. So that's a big shift, and we are starting to see the policies in place, the attitudes, the technical knowledge, and the sharing of good practice. So the work at Airburn, that's been a big shift. And now we're looking at the lessons that can be taken from that to inform other developments as well. And there's a big growing body of kind of support for this work. So that's what's exciting.
Thank you. John.
Yeah, excellent work. And thanks for the background, Mike. So just reminding me of the hard work that's gone on over generations here. Well done. And for picking it up.
Yeah, I'm only the man here now, you know, this has been going for a long time.
Jen, might be a question for you, I think. My biggest concern is that all of this work is wonderful work, such good collaboration, that we're seeing potentially a more permissive regulatory environment coming along with the Natural Environment Bill. Have you been thinking about how we can leverage to this good work to make sure that those benefits are retained into the future in that potentially changing statutory environment?
It's a good question. It's probably beyond the scope of
my. Fine, maybe there's two deputy chair of the Smart Growth Committee. We're hot on that, so we'll make sure that's connected. But I was hoping you might have, but I understand that you don't. So thank you.
Thank you.
So it's a good question. I think that we all think about. I appreciate that. May not be within the scope. Any other questions, councillors? No? Great. All right. Well, I'm happy to move. We'll have a second. John? Good. Great discussion. Tucker.
I went to the Alpine Lakes Forum a few months ago. It's been a long time figuring it out. Incredibly smart people, very far beyond my knowledge or expertise. But one of the sort of saving graces was we had a whole day of, slowly degrading and everything slowly eroding and things getting worse. And it was quite disempowering. And then they talked about Lake Hayes and they go, well, Lake Hayes is actually improving for the first time. And, the work with Airburn, I think you guys lead this space, which provides a huge amount of optimism. And the ripple effect of that, I think, is enormous. And I do think, we will reflect those values and ideas and want to show you leadership in that space to show that it is holistic, that it is integrated within the framework of the systems that are outside of this committee. But just to acknowledge and commend the leadership that we've shown, and to, really celebrate the work done and the work from here. So thank you.
Anyone else? Great, well, I'll wrap it up then. Thanks very much. And I've been living here 20 years and it's gone through various stages of deterioration and then improvement. And certainly from a family member with my family swimming in the lake, they're not swimming in it, and then maybe we'll go back to swimming in it again. It has been a remarkable achievement that, not just the people that are staring at us right now, but I know that there's hundreds and hundreds of people sitting behind that, and it just shows the true collaborative effort of all the organisations, all the volunteers, all the community that's sitting behind that, and I think it's leading the way in terms of what we can do when we collaborate. So well done, and it's a pleasure to have you here today. And I look forward to being invited as a committee to come and have a look and spend some more time with your passion and energy. Right, with that in mind, we'll put it to the vote. So we have in front of us to note the contents of this report, endorsed Waifakaata Lake Haze Strategy 2025 as a collaborative, non-statutory work framework guiding integrated catchment restoration and water quality improvement for the lake. And note that the officers are developing a draft set of implementation actions to underpin council's contribution to delivery of strategy.
Happy to move.
We've done that. Yes.
Oh.
So let's go to the votes. All those in favour?
I'll go for it.
Against, none, carried. Thank you very much. Everyone.
Right. Thank you to your Parks and Gardens department and
they are a wonderful department.
Thank you. Thank you. Lately, they've been amazing.
May it continue. Right, well, that was the last agenda item for the meeting. So I will close the meeting. I'll just finish with a karakia. Kua matu inga mahu nane hiko tu waro ko tahitanga. Haere bai, haere tōtaka, haumi e, hui e. Thank you all. Declare the meeting closed at 11:41. Thank you very much.
Thank you.